Welcome to the Mirage Garage YouTube channel. Today is the first day of vlogging. I'm going to be trying to upload one video a week as long as I have good content. I'm going to be doing a video series of my Datsun 280ZX. We're about to go over to Grandma's house because that's where I have my trailer parked at. And we're going to pull, or at least try to pull the Datsun out of the trailer so that way I can try and assess some of the damage that happened. Once I get in the truck, I'm going to explain more about what happened to my Datsun and why I'm going to be doing all this work to it right now. So the story behind my Datsun 280ZX is I got it when I was 18 years old. I got my first big boy job and decided that to treat myself I was going to buy a car that I really wanted, which ended up being, I wanted something old, Japanese, kind of classic, and to me that was my Datsun 280ZX. I paid right around, I think, $1,000 for it from a guy in Sarasota, Florida. And I took the car back to the house, and my buddy and I, we looked at it. It wasn't running, so I had to tow it. So when I towed it back to the house, it took a couple days. We ended up figuring that I believe the fuel pump wasn't working, and it had a bad ignition coil. So we changed those things out, and I believe it fired up that same night. The guy that I bought it from ended up having like a bunch of extra parts, so we didn't even have to try and find parts to fix it. We pretty much got two of everything when we bought the car. So we got the car running, and it drove fine for a while. I started getting some issues with it would backfire, and it would run really rich. And I'll get, a couple issues here and there, but take it out a couple times on some of the drag nights, and my buddy and I would go watch other people race. But that car, man, everywhere you went, someone would come up to you and tell you their story of when they, either they had that car or they knew someone who had that car, and all the fun times they would have in it. So, one night, my buddy Connor and I were trying to drive to Bradenton from my parents' house, and I wanted to make it. I think we were going to a house party or something. We were trying to make it out there so bad, but the car just did not want to go. It kept shutting off, and it had an electrical issue with the key. I don't even think I had a key for it. I think I was hot wiring it every time I had to start it. So one night we were trying to go down 301 to go to this house party, and the car just shut off. I mean, it just died. So we had to coast it in to a gas station, and Connor and I figured out that one of the distributor wires had touched somewhere on the frame, and the alternator wires got loose and was shorted out on the frame, and ended up blowing out. It had like inline fuses, so it ended up blowing out one of the fuses. And it wasn't something that I could just buy, right there at an auto parts store. It's something I had to order online. So we ended up just pulling it back to the house, and it's parked there. And the next morning, I decided this is it. We're gonna tear this engine apart. We're gonna rebuild everything. We're gonna try and clean up the body as much as we can. And everything we do, I want to do it for myself. And that's, to me, I think that's where I messed up, being 18 years old and not really knowing how to do a whole lot. So we ended up pulling the engine out next day, and we took the engine completely apart, and I ordered a rebuild kit for it. Took the body was two colors. It had burgundy on the outside, and then some panels of it didn't even have paint. So we ended up like prepping the body over the span of a couple weeks. We ended up prepping everything up. I rebuilt the engine, boarded 40 over, bought a Mega Squirt ECU for it, and as far as the body goes, all I did was we stripped it down as clean as we could get it, and I tried to paint it myself, but if any of you guys ever painted something for the first time, it doesn't really go as you planned. So the body looked okay from afar, and it was good enough for me. So I just we rebuilt the engine, got it bored 40 over, got everything ARP for it that we could get, got custom pistons made, and that thing back together, and I got I think it was, I don't really remember the turbo size because, as I said, this is a couple of years ago. I think this is like 2015 now, or maybe 14, somewhere between there. But anyway, we got a turbo for it, put it in, and I got one of those Mega Squirt build your own ECU kits, and I sat down one night and put it together. It took forever, but once we got the ECU together, one of my buddies actually went to school for tuning, and we had him tune the car up, and we were making good power out of it. I believe his computer was telling us we were making around 440, out of the engine, supposedly. We don't really know for sure. I never put it on a dyno. But once we got that done, I mean, I drove the car like that for years, and then I enlisted in the military. Ended up having to park it. It sat for a couple months. Once I got out of basic training and I got sent to my unit, about a year later, I was able to go home and pick the car up, and I brought it up to Savannah, Georgia, where I was stationed at, and I drove it around there for a while. I mean, I drove it right up until I got my deployment orders, and I had to pack everything up. But basically, what happened was, on the way home to go store the car, my dad was driving this truck, but this was before this truck was lifted. And my dad was driving this truck, and we were kind of hot rodding, going back and forth, going down some back roads. And I got the turbo red hot, ended up burning up my fuel line. Fuel got on the turbo, and the whole car went up in flames. Well, not necessarily the whole car, the whole engine bay. I mean, when it happened, I just pulled over as fast as I could, and my wife was actually in the car with me. We both just hopped out, and ran for it, thinking the whole car was going to blow up. Luckily, where we stopped, there was a guy who had a fire extinguisher in his truck, so he ran up, and he was a firefighter, so he ran up, put the fire out, and luckily we didn't get, well, hopefully, I haven't really seen, since I parked it that night, I haven't really looked at it too closely. So that's what we're going to go do today. Once we got the car pulled out, we're going to go look at it and see what all we need to do to, bring this thing back to glory. Alright guys, so behind me is the trailer that the Datsun's been sitting in for the last 3 years. So let's go take a peek and see what it looks like inside. Okay guys, so here she is. She does not look too good right now, let me tell you. Alright guys, we're getting swarmed by love bugs over here, but we got the Datsun pulled over to an area where we could pull it out, and I'm gonna see if I could get a chain or a rope or something, and I don't even think there's a tie down point I could pull off of this car in the front end. Everything's on the back, but we're gonna figure a way to get this thing out here. First close-up look of the fire damage after sitting for 3 years. As you can see, it's pretty bad. I just found a black widow spider in here, so I'm trying to tread lightly now. But it looks like a lot of the metal thinned out right here. So I'm probably gonna start searching around, see if I can get a new hood for it. I used to have one. I don't know if I still do. Let me see if I could open this thing up here without. But yep, there she is, all burnt up. This is gonna be a real project, guys. This is gonna take me, I don't know how long, but it's gonna be a minute. Alright guys, so we got the area cleared out for the ramps. Looks like we got a pretty straight shot out. Alright guys, we got the Datsun out, pulled out, got some air in the tires. Father-in-law is gonna pull it up, and then we're gonna back it in right over here. But look at her. She used to be mean. Alright. Well guys, I'm really excited to get my Datsun back, and I just want to get started on this project here. It's bringing back a lot of memories, a lot of good times I had with this car, and I'm trying to get back to it. I think the next step on this is to go ahead and give it a good pressure washing so you can kind of see where we stand on all the damage. The damage is pretty extensive in the engine bay, but it's mainly on the turbo side, which is over there. But once we get everything pressure washed up, we're going to go ahead, pull the engine, and I'll put it on my engine stand, go ahead and get it cleaned up. I don't know if I'm going to crack it open or not. I haven't decided that yet. Depends on, how I feel about it. If I don't feel confident, then I will crack it open and try and fix whatever problems it might have in it. Well guys, thanks for tuning in today and watching my video. I hope to see you guys all subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.